As I stood in line with my wife, anticipation coursed through my veins. We were about to embark on a day of carefree fun and thrilling rides at the renowned Carnival Hills theme park. It was a much-needed escape from the monotony of everyday life, a chance to indulge in childlike wonder and laughter. Before reaching the roller coaster, we had already immersed ourselves in the park's enchanting atmosphere. We strolled hand in hand down vibrant streets adorned with whimsical decorations, tantalizing aromas wafting from food stalls, and joyful music filling the air. We delighted in classic attractions like the spinning teacups and the Ferris wheel, our laughter merging with the symphony of happy voices. We embraced the nostalgia of our youth, relishing the simple joys that had long been overshadowed by the weight of adulthood. But amidst the revelry, there was an undercurrent of subtle unease. A fleeting shadow that flickered in the corners of my vision, a shiver that cascaded down my spine when no breeze brushed against my skin. Yet, we dismissed these sensations as the mere quirks of a theme park designed to thrill and chill. Unbeknownst to us, an air of anticipation hung in the atmosphere, as if the park itself held its breath, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal its hidden secrets. Oblivious, we followed the ebb and flow of the crowd, drawn inexorably towards the grand spectacle of Nightmare's descent. And now, as we stood in line, our excitement grew palpable. Conversations buzzed around us, laughter mingled with nervous anticipation. The steel tracks soared overhead, casting intricate shadows upon the ground, like a labyrinth leading to an unknown realm. My wife's eyes sparkled with a mixture of wonder and thrill, her contagious smile tugging at the corners of my mouth. We exchanged playful banter and shared dreams of the exhilaration that awaited us, unaware that our dreams were about to be twisted into a haunting nightmare. The minutes ticked away, each one bringing us closer to the front of the line. The sun smiled down upon us, lending an air of innocence to the impending darkness. It was a moment frozen in time, suspended between the ordinary and the extraordinary, between laughter and screams. We inched closer to the front of the line, our hearts pounding with excitement. The time had come, and we eagerly hopped into the seats, quickly securing ourselves with the seat belts. The chatter around us merged into a distant hum as we braced ourselves for the thrilling ride ahead. As the roller coaster began its ascent, a rush of anticipation filled the air. We marveled at the panoramic view unfolding before us, the sprawling theme park transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors. But little did we know, subtle changes were taking place, slipping past our oblivious gazes. The climb to the top seemed ordinary enough, just like any other roller coaster we had experienced before. Yet, in those fleeting moments of ascent, a chilling breeze caressed our skin, carrying with it a whisper of foreboding. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, but I brushed it off as mere adrenaline-induced jitters. After what felt like an eternity, the coaster reached the top, and for a brief moment, we teetered on the edge of exhilaration and the unknown. Unbeknownst to us, the world around us had already begun its eerie transformation. But our eyes were fixed on the thrilling plunge that awaited us. With a sudden rush, we hurtled downwards, screams of exhilaration mingling with the wind rushing past our ears. In that whirlwind of excitement, our senses were consumed by the thrill of the moment, leaving little room for discerning the gradual shift in our surroundings. The loop, a hallmark of this ride, came and went in a blur of excitement, and it was within the depths of the ensuing tunnel that the true nature of our journey would reveal itself. The transition was seamless, as if we had simply passed through an ordinary structure. The darkness enveloped us, and yet, we remained oblivious to the subtle shift that had occurred. Unbeknownst to us, the air in the tunnel grew heavy with an otherworldly chill. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on grotesque shapes that whispered of things that should not be. But our attention remained fixed on the twists and turns that lay ahead, oblivious to the unfolding nightmare. The ride concluded with a final jolt, and as the coaster screeched to a halt, we were quickly ushered off. Our legs wobbled beneath us, but our focus was on the exhilaration we had just experienced. Oblivious to the twisted reality that awaited, we emerged from the ride full of excitement and ready to ride the next ride. With my wife needing to use the bathroom, I sit and wait outside, still catching my breath from the roller coaster ride. Lost in a daze, I observe the people around me, oblivious to the obvious details that, in hindsight, should have alerted me. But at that moment, my primary concern was preventing lunch from making an unwelcome reappearance, leaving little room for anything else. After a few minutes, my wife emerges from the bathroom, wearing a perplexed expression. Sensing something amiss, I inquire about what's wrong. She hesitates for a moment before mentioning a peculiar encounter with a woman inside. According to my wife, the woman appeared oddly, with a greenish complexion. In my haste to dismiss any potential concerns, I hastily attribute her appearance to the effects of the roller coaster, assuming she must have been feeling unwell like us. We quickly brush it off, eager to move on with our day of amusement. But before we do, she mentions she took a secret video of her, and she quickly pulls it out to show me. I will add the video to this post so everyone can see it.
Oh shit, fart on my roommate's door, ha.
Back to the story. Looking back on that fateful day at Carnival Hills, I can't help but shudder at the things I failed to notice. We went about our park activities, completely oblivious to the sinister undercurrents that lurk beneath the surface. It's as if the darkness itself masked its true intentions from our naive gazes. Hand in hand, we strolled along the bustling pathways, ignorant to the unsettling details that should have set off alarm bells. Carousel horses, frozen in eerie poses, beckoned with painted smiles that concealed a hidden malevolence. Their glassy eyes seemed to follow us, their gaze hauntingly fixed upon our every move. Yet, we pressed on, caught up in the enchanting melodies and children's laughter, blissfully unaware of the lurking darkness. In the depths of the arcade, neon lights flickered ominously, casting elongated shadows that danced upon the worn walls. It should have been a warning, a signal to turn back. But we remained blind to the prizes that whispered secrets in hushed tones, their button eyes filled with sorrow. The air grew heavy, yet our minds dismissed it as mere figments of an overactive imagination. Undeterred by the haunting atmosphere, we ventured into the park's haunted house attraction. The corridors, dimly lit, exuded an oppressive air, heavy with the scent of decay that permeated our senses. Macabre scenes adorned the walls, their grotesque depictions hidden beneath flickering candlelights. Unbeknownst to us, shadowy figures lurked in the darkness, their veiled faces silently observing our every step. But we trudged forward, our ignorance shielding us from the lurking horrors. A rumbling hunger led us to a food court illuminated by flickering lanterns. The vendors wore masks that twisted their smiles into grotesque grimaces, their eyes burning with an unnatural gleam. The tantalizing scent of caramelized popcorn mingled with an underlying odor of decay, yet we devoured the delicacies without hesitation. We savored each morsel, ignorant of the sinister origins that tainted our palates. Oh, how I wish I had seen through the facade, grasped the true nature of that day. As we began to finish the snack we had bought, a wave of relief washed over me, momentarily distracting me from the lurking unease. It was a fleeting moment, like the calm before a storm, but in that moment, my eyes truly opened. Images from that day play in my mind like fragments of a twisted nightmare. Doubt taints my recollections, questioning the veracity of my memories. I look around, and the world seems off, like a distorted reflection in a funhouse mirror. The people surrounding us wear masks of normalcy, but beneath the facade, something hides, something that watches us with a chilling intent to remain unseen. The feeling of being observed, yet unseen, is a chilling sensation, one I had never experienced before. But in my naivety, I dismissed it, eager to prolong the illusion of amusement. To shake off the adrenaline crash, I rose from my seat and made my way to the nearest vendor to buy something to drink. Attempting to dismiss the unnerving encounter as mere coincidence, I engaged in small talk with the lady at the cash register. But her question caught me off guard, sending a chill down my spine. "You're not from around here, are you?" she asked, her voice laced with an undertone of sinister familiarity. Puzzled, I quickly inquired, "What do you mean?" Her response was swift, redirecting the conversation with a recommendation: "You should try Nightmare's Descent." A shiver raced down my spine as I thanked her for the soda and hastily retreated to our table, where I relayed the encounter to my wife. She brushed it off as a ploy to prolong visitor stays, attributing it to a commission scheme. Relieved, I attempted to put it behind me, though a seed of doubt had been planted. Yet, in that moment, as my gaze wandered beyond my wife's shoulder, I noticed a man devouring a burger. A seemingly innocent act, but something caught my eye, a grotesque detail that froze my blood. Without overtly staring, I examined the meat closely, and to my disbelief, it resembled a severed finger. Doubt crept in, tempting me to dismiss it as a trick of the light or a figment of my imagination. I mustered the courage to share my suspicion with my wife, urging her to sneak a glance without drawing attention. Her face drained of color, confirming my worst fears. It wasn't a delusion. Attempting to maintain composure, I suggested that it might be a hallucination, urging us to move on and explore the park's attractions. Desperate to escape the mounting horror, we pushed forward. As we passed the man with the burger, his devouring grin became a macabre reminder of the unspeakable truth lurking beneath the surface. Walking farther away, the unsettling details became impossible to ignore. Conversations around us centered on consumption, with chilling references to ages and the selling of grade A cuts. It dawned on me with sickening clarity, they were discussing people, treating them like cuts of premium beef. Nausea threatened to overwhelm me, but I fought it back, steeling myself to protect my wife. In a secluded corner, I grasped her trembling hand, struggling to find words that could encapsulate the horrors we had stumbled upon. The fear in her eyes mirrored my own as she whispered, "What's going on?" I had no answers, only a grim determination to escape this nightmare. We need to get out of here. With a sense of urgency and desperation, we weighed our options. Our minds raced, searching for a way to flee this nightmare. And then it hit me, a flicker of realization amidst the chaos. The roller coaster, Nightmare's Descent. It held the key to our escape. Clutching my wife's trembling hand, I whispered, "Remember what the cashier said?" She mentioned Nightmare's Descent, the ride we just experienced. A glimmer of hope sparked in her eyes, mingling with the fear. But just as fast, she retorted, "What if it's a trap?" I paused, urging her to think for a moment. "Remember," I said, "the ride is conveniently located near the park exit. If we need to, we can make a break for it. At this point, we have no other options." With a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, she reluctantly agreed to give it a try. As we hurriedly made our way through the park, our hearts pounding in our chests, we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every shadow seemed to hold hidden eyes, every whisper carried an ominous undertone. And then, just as we thought we had evaded detection, a man, or rather, a monstrous being disguised as a man, stepped into our path, blocking our escape. His eyes, cold and calculating, bore into ours as he questioned, "What are you doing here? You don't belong." Panic surged within us, threatening to expose our fear. We needed to think fast, to convince him that we were just like them, that we belonged in this sinister realm. Drawing upon the desperate depths of my mind, an idea sparked, a risky gambit that could either save us or seal our fate. With a feigned air of confidence, I stepped forward, my hand reaching into my pocket. As I pulled out a small pocket knife, I glared at the creature before us, a grotesque smile playing at the corners of my lips. "You dare question us? You offend us with your insolence," I hissed, my voice laced with a tinge of madness. "Those who offend must be punished." With a swift motion, I brought the blade against my own arm, drawing a shallow cut that welled with blood. The creature's eyes widened in a mix of shock and perverse delight. The twisted grin stretched across my face as I continued, "See? Question me again, and next time I'll happily carve your face." My wife stepped in, quickly licking my wound and saying, "Please do it. I can't wait to taste your revenge," while licking her lips. Bewildered, the man stood there in silence. His attempt to scare us into revealing our humanity had failed. I walked towards him, laying the knife against his cheek, and calmly said, "Have a good day." We then walked away. My wife and I followed each other around the corner, gasping for air, knowing that we had pulled off the most convincing act of our lives. We swiftly made our way to the ride, which was conveniently located near the park's exit. After hours of waiting, our turn finally arrived. We hopped into the seats, buckled ourselves in, and instead of feeling excitement for the ride, we were consumed by the hope of returning home. As we sat there, time seemed to slow down. My heart pounded, fearing that we had been discovered. Then, with a screech, the ride started climbing to the top. I closed my eyes, praying for a safe return. After what felt like an eternity, we slowly dropped, and I opened my eyes, tightly holding my wife's hand. There were no screams, we simply looked forward as we went around the loop and into the tunnel. We both knew, and hoped, that this would be our escape. Emerging on the other side, a heavy weight lifted from my shoulders, as if something had been released. My wife and I couldn't help but laugh for the rest of the ride. As we reached the end and unbuckled ourselves, we almost ran to escape the ride. The first thing we did was look around, and to our relief, everything was back to normal. After about 15 seconds, the nausea that had been building up finally overcame me. I dashed towards the nearest trash can, desperately trying to hold back the contents of my stomach. My wife ran alongside me, her face filled with concern. Even though I was retching, I couldn't help but smile. We had made it. I turned to my wife and asked if we should just go home. She nodded in agreement. We had come for fun but left with more than we bargained for. Remember those old wooden roller coasters that seem to stand the test of time? They are there for a reason. Heed my warning, because it might be you next time, and not everyone makes it out.